pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to get a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moves.
Got a second?
Second.
Today's agenda is approved. I'd like a motion to approve the September 30th regular meeting.
Motion.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Approval of minutes for September 30th is approved. President's comments. Dr. Lackenick is unable to attend with us in person today. However, he is here virtually. I want to thank John and his team for great financials and the work that him and his team have done up to date. I would also like to take an opportunity to thank the committees and the committee members for working well together and making Ocean Pines the best it can be. Real quick, as far as for information, there's a lot of information that's going around that you see on social media. And I want to make sure that the membership knows that the most reliable source and factual information comes from OPA.org and comes from our public relations department. It's very important for those individuals to know that if you want updated factual information, go to the OPA.org website or on social media to get those type of information that is needed. For the first part of our agenda, we have Dave Wilson from U.S. Winds for offshore wind project presentation. So I'm going to suspend Robert's rules for Dave to come up and talk.
Okay, right here?
Yes, perfect. Yes. Yep.
Sorry to have my back to the audience, but first of all, thank you for having me today. I can't remember the last time I spoke to the OPA. I think it was during my tenure, probably at the Coastal Base Program. I was the director of that program for many years and lived here since 1997 when I came down right after graduate school. Just some background, my family has owned property in Ocean City since the late 80s. We owned a building and some apartments and some commercial property there on Talbot Street, the seaside, right behind Fisher's Popcorn. And so I've been here. I love Ocean City. I've been living first in Ocean City, then West Ocean City, now in the country of northern Worcester County. So with that, I'll go to the next slide. I don't know if there's a.
We got it.
Yeah, I want to skip through these. I want to get to the good stuff because I want to repeat some of this. So you can go to the next one. This is just an area, a map of where the existing lease areas are off of the coast. There may be more, but this is the existing lease areas. There's only 7 turbines in the water right now on the whole East Coast, so not a lot. But I'll talk about a little bit more about that in a second. So you can go on to the next slide if you don't mind. So this is the good stuff. So this area you see is sort of triangular east of Ocean City is U.S. Wind's area. The area that U.S. Wind is leased from Boehm. Interior spent a little over half a decade working with the Pentagon and working with DOD and all the fisheries folks and all the stakeholders to set this up. So it's kind of in a sweet spot. So it's not impacting commercial traffic, recreational folks, the DOD, whales, dolphins, et cetera. So this is, and especially birds, because some of you may know, I own Delmarva Birding Weekend. So I own an LLC, I've been doing birding trips for 30 years. I'm also the breeding bird atlas coordinator for Worcester County. So I do all of the data collection for birds in Worcester County for DNR. So and I'll talk about birds a little bit later, but this is the lease area. Right now, we have offshore renewable energy credits, which are issued by the Maryland Public Service Commission for about 21 turbines, which we call Marwin, which is what you see in green, about 21 miles away. We also have ORECs, which were awarded by the Maryland Public Service Commission in 2021 for about 55 turbines, which you'll see in red there. It's about 15 miles from Ocean City. We do not have awards for anything closer than 15 miles at this time. So the Maryland Public Service Commission, we're hoping will still, offer awards for, go back to that slide. We'll still offer awards for the filling out that lease area, which would be about 11 miles from 84th Street, and would be about a total of about 1.8 gigawatts of energy, which would supply energy to about 28% of all the homes in Maryland for every day, all day for 25 years plus. So it's a lot of energy. Every turbine's worth about 5,700 houses. So this is not solar. This is a serious amount of energy. Next slide. And again, just to talk a little bit about the turbines. The turbines are a mile apart, north-south, and about 0.8 of a mile apart, east-west. I'm a fisherman. I owned a boat for most of my life till my friends started getting bigger boats, and I just got rid of my boat. But I can navigate between turbines that are a mile apart, typically, unless there's really bad weather when you turn on the radar. But just to let you know, the lights on top of the turbines are usually off. So we're using ADLS system. Ocean City asked us to do this. We obliged. And so the lights on top of the turbines are off almost all the time. So they won't be on throughout the year unless an aircraft passes under 1,000 feet and within 3 nautical miles. So we estimate, based on good research, that'll be about 5 hours a year that the lights would be on top of the turbines. So the lights are on at the bottom of the turbines, which is above ship height, but you have to be within 4.5 miles to see those lights. So the lights on the bottom of the turbines for safety are on, but from shore you won't be able to see lights at nighttime. So that's important to us. It's important to Ocean City. I think it's good for wildlife as well. So next slide. So where are we in the process? BOEM, as I mentioned, spent half a decade setting up this lease area. We submit multiple copies of documents that the permitting agencies need. The permitting agencies really put you through a cavity search. We're still not done with the permitting agencies, but BOEM, NIMS, Corps of Engineers are all involved in this, including the state of Maryland. So that's the part that takes the longest, is the permitting part. And so we recently released our construction operation plan to BOEM, and they are in the middle of conducting hearings for the draft environmental impact statement. And the way those hearings are is that you go in, you learn from BOEM staff at tables, and then you can give your testimony in private, which keeps people from, sort of misbehaving and grandstanding. I think that's just a more professional way to do it. So we're getting towards the end of the process. We just need to get through the environmental impact statement, and then BOEM will issue another final environmental impact statement, and we'll let the public will be commenting then again. So next slide, please. So talk about cables. The cables are buried about 6 meters under the sand. There's 4 substations that take the energy from the turbines and will go into 3 R's Beach. And so the cables are drilled about 60 feet under 3 R's Beach. So there won't be a big disturbance at 3 R's Beach because they're so far under the ground. But this will be done off season. So we wouldn't go into Delaware, just south of the Indian River Inlet, in the middle of the summer and drill a pipe under, or a cable under there. Cables are about 8 to 10 inches in diameter. But there are a lot of other cables out there, so we need to navigate through the other cables. And then we'll go through the Indian River Inlet to the NRG power station. The reason the inlet is better is because we don't want to go on land, because we don't want to have to cut through forests and wetlands and whatnot to get to the NRG power station. So Indian River Inlet, I think DENREC and others agrees, is the best options. Next slide. So, worldwide, there's a lot of fishing around turbines. Turbines create a lot of nice vertical structure for fish. There's 2 turbines off of Virginia, so we took some folks from the Atlantic Coast Sports Fishermen Association out there not too long ago who caught 101 sea bass in about 4 or 5 hours. So the reef habitat and the reef effect for the turbines is really good. There's not a lot of structure on the bottom, but the vertical structure is what really is great for fish. And people are fishing these worldwide, and there's no regulations about transiting through the area. There's no regulations about fishing. You can do that all day, every day. We don't own the ocean. And so that's really important to us that people start fishing these, and I'm sure they will. There's only about 25 acres of disturbance for the whole lease area. So all the turbines, which are only 11 meters in diameter, create really only 25 or 26 acres of total bottom disturbance in the 80,000 acre lease area. So it's not a lot of disturbance, but it's good enough for a good fish habitat. Next slide. So yeah, you see a lot of stuff, President Farr mentioned social media. I see lots of interesting stuff on social media. I'm a scientist, so I scratch my head a little bit, to be honest. But so for whales, we don't have any reason to think we would harm a whale. All the science, shows that the surveys that we use can be heard by whales, but it's not in a range that would harm cetaceans or dolphins. And so it's not even something you need a permit for. But our main concern is boat strikes. So when we did the surveys, which ended early in 2022 for the cables, we had, just like we do with any boat that's in the area, we'll have protected species observers on it. So what we don't want is boats hitting whales. Now, there are a lot of boats out there. Most of the whale deaths are from cargo ships being hit by boats and commercial fishing. And you can go, NOAA and Marine Fisheries has said that many times. The Marine Mammal Commission has had to issue a statement about that related to offshore wind. But the sonar we use wouldn't hurt or harm a whale, but we need to make sure we don't run into a whale when we're out there. So we'll have boats out there doing maintenance and whatnot. So when we're out there, we have NOAA trained protected species observers on the boats at all times. So we'd make sure that we're not running into any North Atlantic right whale or any other species. Right whales' main problem is commercial fishing because of where they are, basically up in the Gulf of Maine. And all the 350 right whales that exist on the planet right now all have some form of scar from a commercial fishing entanglement. So we work with the commercial guys too for some ropeless gear, which we're helping to fund and do research on that would really help right whales. We do have a full-time monitoring buoy for whales as well, and you can go online. If you're interested, afterwards, I'll show you that website so you can see which whales are here, which ones aren't. There's some whales starting to come back now that it's winter. So next slide. So the construction plan includes, lots and lots of protections for whales, about 172 different measures. But the key measure or the key protection method for protecting whales during construction is the double bubble curtain. And so the way this works is, and this is kind of an industry standard, is that you have multiple curtains that go from the surface to the ground to the bottom of the ocean, basically. During construction takes about 2 hours. It only takes about 2 hours to drive a monopile into the ocean, and we only would do one per day. But it pounds it into the ocean over the course of those 2 hours. But it starts really slow for starters. So if any whales or dolphins are around, they hear it, they don't like it, they can go, they swim away. But the double bubble curtain is there to basically have the sound bounce off the curtain and not go out into the ocean. And so we have protected species observers during the construction process to make sure there are no whales in the area. If there are, construction would stop, but the double bubble curtain really mitigates the sound. And so that curtain around the monopile, which has a jacket around it too, already to mitigate the sound, really does a great job of sound mitigation. And we work with folks from Europe and the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science to do this work and to make it even better. And And BOEM, keeps us straight to make sure it's done right. But it really is a good process. Again, there's only 4 turbines on the coast East Coast wide, but this is really industry standard good stuff. And we don't have any reason, again, to believe that we would hurt or harm any whale. And that's what the science basically says. You'll see if you look at our draft environmental impact statement, you'll see there's takes for whales, takes for dolphins. A take means you saw a whale or a dolphin while you were doing construction. That's called a take. It doesn't mean you injured the animal. It doesn't mean you killed it. A take, the definition of take is just that there was a marine mammal somewhere while you were doing the construction. So it's really important that we keep that straight. And you sometimes just need to see things online and let's say a take is a kill. A take could be a kill, but we have no reason to believe we would kill anything based on the good science. So next slide. So this is just a quick summary of all of the work that we do to protect and learn about species. I'm a bird person, so I bird all over the world. I do, again, mentioned earlier Delmarva birding weekends. We have acoustic monitors for bats and birds. We have acoustic monitors for whales and dolphins. We do aerial surveys. We do seafloor surveys to make sure we're not going through any good habitat on the bottom. We have bat detectors. We have not detected any bats yet in the area. Very few passerines, but some passerines are birds like warblers, vireos, thrushes that fly by the millions at night, but they're inside 10 miles and they're at about 2,000 to 4,000 feet. So we're not so much worried about those kind of birds. Once in a while, you'll see Monty will have a yellow rump warbler or something 20 miles offshore. But those birds are way off course and probably would be dead if it weren't for Monty being so nice to them and taking them back to shore. So the birds, not so worried about the birds. Pelagic birds fly real low to the water under blade level, and they're used to nesting on structure. And so they're really good at flying around structure. So we don't worry so much about the larger pelagic birds that are out there like gannets and things like that. They've been shown worldwide to avoid these areas. And so we're confident about the limited amount of bird strikes. So next slide. So some of you may or may not have heard the Lower Shore Workforce Alliance got about $700,000 from the Maryland Works for Wind initiative. They hired 2 full-time staff and a part-time staff to work on training the workforce for these jobs that are on the way. Warwick Community College has structured its trade curriculum around the wind industry. And so this is a shot from their new building where they're training electricians, welders, et cetera, to basically manufacture turbines and also to work at the O&M facility, which I'll talk about in a second. That is going to be in West Ocean City. So we need at least 100 full-time jobs there, plus many other part-time jobs to maintain the turbines. And so we'll have 100, good paying jobs in West Ocean City. And again, we'll some of those will be union jobs, mostly at Sparrows Point. But we also work very hard to hire minority-owned businesses and give them an advantage. So when I talk to folks a lot, sometimes in business-related discussions, people want these jobs, and so you can go to our website uswindinc.com and you can sign your business up to be a vendor for us. We've seen a lot of interest in that, so please do that if you have an interest in this. So next slide. Again, I don't want to tarry too much on this, but probably about 5,460 direct jobs coming from the project, and another 1.5 times that indirect and induced sort of jobs that aren't hires but are needed as consultants or construction or whatever for the project during its lifespan. So this is not a small project. This is about a $3 billion project. That's about $3 billion investment by U.S. Wind to fill out the whole east area. So this is a significant investment with significant capital involved in this. Next slide. So these are just, again, some of the, I don't know what happened to that, didn't download properly, but these are just some of the jobs that are not necessarily hires, but would be needed in order to to fulfill the obligations, especially at the West Ocean City Harbor, with barge and tug services and other things. And hopefully, I think Josh said you would be able to, you'll have this and you can look more closely at this. So I can move on here. So next slide. So Sparrows Point, I'm sure you may have heard about that in the news. We're setting up a manufacturing facility there for Monopile Foundation and transition pieces. It used to be the old Bethlehem Steel, but we've already started work to get it back in order. Hiring the steel workers, not all steel workers, but a lot of steel workers, probably 400 or 500 at least there. And then other positions for this hub, which is in Dundalk. We don't necessarily want all the people learning at Warwick to go to Dundalk, but some of them might. But there'll be opportunities here for that training as well. The direct jobs there, again, 500 plus 1,000 or so indirect and induced. Again, we've had both governors out there and pretty much a lot of excitement around the Sparrows Point sort of remaking, as it were. And this isn't just for our project. We'll be manufacturing transition pieces and monopiles for the whole East Coast over the long term. So this is a long-term project there. All right, wrapping up. Next slide. Again, I mentioned this is our operation and maintenance facility. We're working on some properties at the harbor where we'll be having basically crews there 24/7 to maintain the turbines and make sure everything's in working order. And so this is, again, about 100 full-time jobs, but a lot of part-time work there as well, and induced jobs from the harbor work, which isn't done yet, but should begin in 2025 or so. So we're looking forward to that. And I lived in West Ocean City for many years, as I mentioned, downtown, but I didn't live too far from the harbor for a number of years. So I'm pretty excited about that. Next slide. So this is, if you want to get a hold of me, have a question, you can email me anytime. What I put up there is the link to the draft environmental impact statement. So if you want to read that statement, you don't have to read every word of it, but you can go through the highlights and see what BOEM said. And again, BOEM they're thorough and they're tough, but I think fair. So look at their impact statement and please feel free to make a comment. We have a hearing on Monday night, 5 to 9. Which is not in person, but it's virtual. You can sign up for that and make comments, or you can comment until November 20th online. You can just submit written comments, and we encourage folks to do that because we always want to learn how to make the project better. So that's it for me. I appreciate your time. I'm happy to field questions too. Yep.
Dave, where will the nacelles be manufactured at, and who's the OEM?
What's that?
The turbines itself, where will they be manufactured at?
We're not sure yet, to be honest. We do everything. What our goal is to purchase everything possible that we can in the United States and from union labor. That's in our construction operation plan. Sometimes that's not possible. If it's not possible, then we have to go overseas. But in most cases, especially as the industry grows, we think over the next 4 or 5 years, we'll be able to easily purchase almost everything domestically. And so that's our goal to do that. Yeah.
Once you become operational, what is the impact, either on the rise or on the decrease, to consumer electric rates?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the Public Service Commission sets a cap on what we can charge consumers, so, or what we give to the grid. So it's not us charging, it's DPL, but the cap is 88 cents per household per month, a maximum increase over the course of the project. So we can't increase household energy bills more than 88 cents per month from energy coming from the grid. So there's a cap on that from the Public Service Commission.
That would be a rate of return type calculation typical in most regulated
Yes.
utilities, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you're talking about, again, once you're operating, you're not talking about having people finance the construction project.
No,
You're
yeah,
talking about once you're operational, you're pumping electric.
That's
into the
correct.
grid, the max is 88 cents
Per
is that
household.
per year,
per household per month.
per month.
So
That
we,
could change at any, I mean, you'd have to petition the utility commission to change it.
the Public Service Commission to change that. That's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's a good question. Another thing I get a lot is about energy. Remember, this is a 5,700 houses per turbine per year is a lot of energy. And so people ask, was this a net clean energy project? The answer is yes, it is. And we've done the calculations and others and that aren't related to us have done it. We've come to the same conclusions. About 2 to 4 months of operation is what it takes to get to net clean energy. And then the other 25.7 years is net clean energy. And that includes all of the maintenance for the whole project. And the reason that's so low is because the turbines just produce so much energy. If you're talking about 5,700 houses per day, for 25 years per turbine, that's a lot of energy. And so that's why months seems low considering all the energy it takes to make the turbines and whatnot. But that's just a function of how much energy is produced. So I hear that a lot, but I want to make sure that's clear. That's definitely not even close to not net clean energy. So.
All right, well, Dave, thanks for coming out. If there's any more questions, I'm sure they can participate in the Monday. Is that correct?
Yeah,
For
yeah,
Q&A at that time.
really encourage that.
Great. Well, thank you for your presentation. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
that. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Great.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Go ahead and reinstate Robert's rules. John, game report.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Started off there, we've always started off with some pictures, Northgate Bridge, you can see some of the maintenance we've done, a fence back there, you probably didn't know it was back there. A lot of cleanup there, credit to Public Works. Turn the page. Okay, so we always start with this, the initiatives, but I want to highlight the priorities, the top 3 priorities, and I'll talk a little more about it. Top 3 priorities from this Rick Fall board, as well as myself: fire EMS, #1, golf irrigation and racket sports buildings, particularly the restrooms and the pro shop. Okay, on the maintenance, I'll talk not just about maintenance, but the roads, the drainage, and the bulkheads, all 3 major expenditures that'll happen over the next couple of months. Turn the page. All right, so the priorities, by now you should know, they are sketches, designs here of the fire EMS building, the proposed fire EMS building, as well as the golf irrigation, the racket sports building. So if anybody wants to look at that and come and have any questions, send them to info at OT or stop and ask Linda or myself. All right, so the fire EMS, as mentioned several times before, the South Fire Station is a top priority. We did have a meeting Friday. I was going to come forward in this board meeting. We just need a little more time, but I can tell everybody that this week we had a very productive, constructive meeting with the fire department in the work group. I had asked Rick, as well as another member of the fire department, to join the team. And I'm very positive on, what I see going forward. Just got to get the right people in the room, and I'm seeing some good stuff. I really am.
Yeah, and to John's point, that it was a very, very healthy, very good meeting for both sides, for OPA as well as the fire department, moving forward. So it's been moving forward in great, good faith.
There's that building there. If you look at it, I'm pretty excited about it. I know a lot of people down there. Golf irrigation, we have Justin here today, but he'll talk about other stuff. But again, I'll be coming forward in the budget process with Justin. We're looking at an estimated 4 to 5 year project. It'll be 1 year at a time. The first phase to be presented to board somewhere in December. But you can see already we have a lot of design, and everything seems to be fitting into place. It's a big project, just like the fire and EMS. The racket sports building, I believe with outside contractors, we should be able to work on the restrooms in the pro shop, which is what I've been committed to down there. Front page. So the maintenance that I talked about, a lot of people, a lot of favorability on what they saw with the yacht club sign. That's an iconic sign. And we did not want that to go awry. There was a lot of rot, there was a lot of work that went into it. Compliments to everybody that worked on it. The colors are almost exactly what they were, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. The Mumford signs had been added over time. We also updated them and bringing back an iconic sign, the yacht club. You can see it there in the corner. We should be getting that, I believe, over another couple of weeks. So I'm excited to get that out there. Anybody that's been around for a long time probably recognizes that sign. Turn the page. The maintenance, we talked about the beach club. You see there on the right side, apparently this boat was used as a flower pot or whatever. But after a discussion with the president, it was immediately removed, and rightfully so. And compliments to Rick for seeing that. I had not been over there, but it was moved immediately. So also Northgate fencing as a side by GM along fencing. I talked about this, showed you some pictures. Public Works trimmed the holly, the bushes, ripped out dead shrubs. Look, we're probably going to paint that down the road or stain it or whatever. I just got to get the manpower. But as we continue maintenance of stuff that hasn't been done for years, decades. Turn the page. For golf, we got a couple good pictures here. Thank you to Justin the other day. I came down. This question has come up before. I have come in front of this board and this association several times for what I refer to as gators. That's a gator. The one on the right says on the front gator, so therefore it's a gator. The one on the left is the spray gator. You probably see these. You probably see Public Works and others driving around in them. We have them all over, usually with a flatbed. They're very useful. So we are talking about that, and that'll be coming forward later. The Pink Lady Tournament at the golf course, I participated in it with many others. It was a great time by all, and it raised some nice money for AGH. Turn the page. Racket sports. Racket sports, we did make some changes down here over the last month or two. A lot of emails, a lot of passion, a lot of good stuff. But I want to assure this association and the racket sports community that the few items that I heard about were already being worked on, already part of a budget and in process. So we are going to put a split rail fence. Now this has changed from some of the ideas I've received in cost, because the costs were pretty high. We're going to extend the split rail fence for the front perimeter. This will cost less than $3,000. We will add to that a vinyl coated green mesh that I've used in the past, and we're probably going to use that at some of our playgrounds also. Rubbermaid shed cost, we have up there $6,000. I can assure you it's going to come in a lot less than that. This is something that's been ordered. It's something we can put on the footprint we have. On the concrete that we have, we've cleared it with the county, and that will give the little extra storage that was highly needed. 3-wheeler to reg tennis courts to save time. Well, not sure on that one, but it was already in process. It had already been approved, like the other two items from the GM office. Actions were taken to resolve issues. Tim Johnson, I'm very happy. This has been out there. I'm very happy to say Tim Johnson was promoted from manager to director of racket sports. I know everybody down there is excited. It's so mine. Pickleball Pink Ribbon Classic, October 13th. Shows you how much we made on it. Good time by all. Speed bumps were installed for safety as you go into that road into the racket sports. We put 3. After speaking with the chief, I believe we're going to go down to 2 if we haven't already. But that is for safety, and I encourage everybody, please do not drive around them. There's a reason why we put them in there. Turn the page. Budget fiscal year 24-25. So obviously we're in budget time. Team, I can assure everybody, the team's been working on it. Steve Phillips is in the past, I've said, crunching numbers. Today, I would say he's pulling levers and punching buttons with our new North Star system, which each year we use more and more. And the team is getting acclimated with it. The budget process obviously has started. All departments have combined their respective budget sheets. We're now in the review process. Key items that are being addressed. Pricing. I've talked about that before. Salaries, especially statutory. As we all know, the statutory each year has gone up, and it's gone up for this year. So that will be increased budget expenses. The reserves, we constantly look at the reserves. I believe that we are in a good place with reserves for the additional spending and everything we have coming forward. This has all been planned the last several years, and certainly a function of the amenities as well as the efficiencies that the team has brought forward. The budget binders will be delivered to the board and Budget and Finance Committee before the December holiday, as committed to. The Budget and Finance Committee presentation tentatively scheduled for somewhere around January 2nd and the 3rd. As you know, in the past, we usually 3 days. Since I've been here, we've done it over 2. I believe we'll do that too. And I'm working with the new chair, with Doug Parks. Board work session to be determined, usually held the 3rd week of January, but probably will be the same. Everything's on track for that. One thing I do want to say is with the budget, each year we have increased the budget spend, the budget reserves. We have increased that. We will continue to do that. And you all know what the effect is because of the positive results of the amenities as well as the efficiencies from the team. We've had decreases in the assessment and we've had increases, especially along safety. And I see that continuing over the next several years. On the page. Rec and Parks.
Rec and Parks, we listened at the last meeting, Dalton Park, agility course has been ordered. As you see below, there's 2 pieces of order for small and large park areas. The fire hydrants have been removed. We are looking into the concrete entrance for the ADA access, and we will be ordering the benches as requested. And part of the Rec and Parks Advisory Committee, they requested split rail fence be repaired. That's been repaired. They talked about a cleanup of the park. As in all parks, the cleanup continues 3 times a week. Moving on to the RFP. RFP for the waste services went out this week. We sent it out to 9 contractors, and it is also on the website. It's due to be back on November 13th, and it's going to be evaluated by staff, then presented at either the November or December board meeting. PI violation, 96 new violations this month. 67 maintenance, trash and grass, 1 without a permit, 19 miscellaneous. We are revving up on the maintenance. We're listening to the association request and we are revving up on the maintenance. We still have 122 still open, but we did close out 127. Work orders, we had 90 new work orders, for majority in drainage. We still have majority in drainage open, 64, 31 over 30 days, 15 over 60 days. They're going to be going to the contractor to resolve. And customer service, we have 101 emails and phone calls this month. If you have any questions, concerns, call 410-641-7717 or email info@oceanpines.org.
Hey, thank you, Linda.
Great, thanks, John and Linda. So,
I'll do the
finance, you do finance, good.
Okay, so the financials, let's go through this. Got a good story here and I want to continue it. So for the month, as we usually do and what we need to do based upon our documents, is we report on where we are favorable or unfavorable to budget. Very important for everybody to know. That is what we are instructed to do, and that's what we do. So the net revenues, again, favorable by 32,000. The expenses favorable by 12,000. I'm going to talk more on the year-to-date versus the month because the month's a continuation of the same good story as last month. Turn the page. Okay, so that's the 44,000. But turn to the year-to-date. It's basically the same. All right, so on the year to date, we're favorable 483,000 to budget, very important. You can see the revenues continue and what has happened over the last several years. And, we've made the phrase organic growth popular here. It continues, and especially in golf. The expenses, the 92,000 unfavorable, is a function in some places of a few things where the increased revenue, especially at golf, we had more salaries. So there is a mix there. Front page. All right, so that's the detail. And let me just go through it and let me more or less consolidate it for you, put it in perspective. So that 483,000, as I mentioned, a big driver of it is golf. We do have big revenue gains to offset some increased wages. The police, as you can see up there, the police favorability, there's a couple of components to this. First, the favorability is because of benefits, medical benefits, where, as you know, we do have some openings. So you're gonna have it favorability there, but we do have offsets. Overtime is at the highest and so there's offsets. But because of the medical is where the favorability is there. The audit growth, revenue growth continues for the beach club, beach parking, clubhouse, grill, aquatics, and rec and parks actually showed some increase. And then you can see there's the offsets there, mainly the Marina Yacht Club and racket sports. I can tell you this on the Marina Yacht Club, that was all weather driven. I've talked to you about that all summer. It definitely hit us in the Marina. The Marina had they had over 95 small craft advisories during the period, and the Yacht Club, it just seemed to, and again, they still did very well. Let me point that out. Still did well. It just seemed like the heavy rains came every Friday night and Saturday night. The golf course, with all the drainage we did, and compliments to the team, and Justin sitting right there, with all the drainage that we did there, as well as with the maintenance, we drained and we didn't lose that much. And a lot of the times when it rained, the course was open and it was very playable. Okay, turn page. So we do put in the reserves, and these are unaudited, obviously, but what I want to just do with this slide and what we do is we just show you. And it kind of confirms what I'm talking about with everything else, that our reserves have increased, but we certainly have spent money on the infrastructure, maintenance. When we turn the page, it'll show that more. This schedule, this is the new schedule that we've put in there over the last several years. We show where the expenditures are, so you can see it, as well as down at the bottom. Steve worked, he posts for me and for us what's coming up. And I talked about this before, the bulkheads, the roads, the drainage, all coming up over the next couple of months. Big spend, the money's there. Quite honestly, it's the highest spend that I've seen on roads, drainage specifically, all driven by the results of the entire team and the organization. Page.
Monica, Treasurer's report.
For the month of September, the association had approximately 18 million in cash. Cash increased 0.6 million from the same period last year. Cash decreased 600,000 from August 2023. We have 11.2 million invested in CDARS. We recognize 53,000 for the month of September in interest. The remaining 6.8 million is insured sweep accounts, treasury bills, money market, and other operating accounts diversified between 2 local banks.
Thank you, Monica. I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor for public comments. Those members who wish to make comments, please come forward and state your name and address.
Good morning. I'm
Morning.
Gary Miller. I'm in 15 Windward Court. I just wanted to thank all of you for showing up and participating in the social and fundraiser last night at the Yacht Club. I'm a member of the Iron General Hospital Foundation, and the foundation and the hospital also thank you. We raised over $1,000 last night. So it was a great turnout. And again, we just want to publicly thank the board and Ocean Pines for supporting the hospital and for supporting the penguin swim. And if any of you would like to go jump in the ocean on New Year's Day with us, I'd be more than happy to have you do that. So thank you again for your participation last night.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Good morning. I
Yeah,
think
good
it's
morning.
good morning, right?
Good morning.
My name is Laura Pangratz. I live at 2 Harpoon Road, which is really a court. I wanted to comment on the AGH fundraiser stuff. I'm on call for the hospital right now, so if my phone rings, please excuse me. As a chaplain, I will have to go in and work. So my comments today, though, I have a couple of different topics that I just want to put out there for consideration. one, for public comments, have we made a decision about online folks being able to make a public comment? I will be quite honest, it is very hard for me to hear, even in person, in this room. All I've been hearing is music and whatever outside, the air going in here. So sometimes it's actually better for me to be on the line on the Teams call, so I can actually hear what is being said. And if that's the choice that is best for me, I would also like to be able to have the opportunity to make the comment, from using that platform. So please consider allowing that. Please keep up on how to do the Robert's Rules of Orders. Y'all know I love my Robert's Rules of Orders, and it does help make a meeting go smoother and less chaotic. And as long as we're following the right way, it works. So please keep up with that. Now, as an individual, I am not representing anybody. I'm just me today. I would like to put in and make it known that I do not favor electronic signs for Ocean Pines. I think if we really truly listen to the people, you will note on social media and at our annual meeting that the majority of folks, when that topic came up, did not support it. And yet there's still rumblings out there that it's still going to be brought forth and everything. So I'm taking my time to be able to put in my thoughts on that. There's a lot of maintenance and upkeep, and if you even notice, the casino took down their electronic sign. So please consider listening to the people and not just having an agenda item. I'm glad to see that everybody is working together as a team. Be neutral and remember that we have all voted for you all to represent us, but as a group, as a whole, not for personal agendas. Focus on what is truly beneficial for all of us. And as a committee chairperson, I am a neutral person. I will not try to sway anyone to view one way or the other a topic that happens to come up. And I feel that's what our directors and our president should be able to do, is to not sway people, state the facts, and make your decisions on the benefits for the community. And I do want to say a big thank you to all of you, all of our directors, all of our chairpersons, and all of our committee members, because we truly are volunteers. Many of us have multiple other things that we volunteer and do. And so having the time to prepare and not have a last minute change or whatever is great. But we very rarely, we do need to be able to say thank you to everybody, because we are giving the time giving up family time to do this. So I just want to know that you are appreciated. And then I guess I've already mentioned it a little bit, was the better sound in this room. I don't feel we need necessarily a designated boardroom built or anything like that. I just think that maybe once a month when we have a meeting here, we could ask them to, or I don't even know, the grill or whatever, to turn down their whatever you want to call it, entertainment, sound, whatever, just for the time in the morning for the meeting, so that there's less distractions here. So I think that's it for right now. So, but got to get it all out when I think about it. And these ideas usually pop in my head around 3 a.m. in the morning. So thank you very much for your time and patience.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing. Thank you for your service that you do to the hospital. That is appreciated, and for what you do for our community involved with the committee members. I will tell you that having another boardroom is not on an agenda for this board. I can tell you that. So despite of information that's out there regarding that, this board is not looking to have a separate boardroom and spend association membership money on a separate boardroom. So I just want dispel that rumor and misinformation that's out there regarding that. So,
And that's why balancing what we hear on social media and what happens in real life is truly a balance. And we need to consider it, but we also need to be able to make sure that what's out there is accurate.
and that's why I alluded to in my president's remarks of the factual information that comes forth through the association is through the OPA designated websites and social media outlets. That's something that I want to really push forward to our association members. That's where you can get the factual information from.
Right. And you're welcome for the volunteering that I do at the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, you all know, because I've said it several times, but I lost my son
Yeah.
almost a year ago. We're coming up the next 2 weeks for the 1 year of his passing. And after that, you know, I felt led to do this. So I enjoy doing it. It's very healing for me. However, I do not need to visit with any of you all there. So just stay healthy and you don't need to come see me at the hospital. Okay. So I'd rather visit you at the yacht club or, you know, something else like that. So,
Great.
but I do appreciate it.
Our thoughts are with you.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you. Hey, good morning.
Colette Warren, 35 Sundial. Rick, I'm so happy to hear that you're having productive meetings with the fire department. And I was happy to see that they initiated a fundraising and activity that is earmarked for the building project, the brick initiative. What I'd like to see publicized is what is the target dollar figure for that fundraising initiative, and what is the expected percent net yield after the bricks are used for whatever element they will add to the building project. Okay, thank you.
Any other public comments? We'll go ahead and close the floor on the public comments. Capital requests. John?
The first one, secondary road rehabilitation, 2020, they talked about a little bit earlier, requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $356,618.20 for asphalt maintenance LLC.
I have a motion to approve for the asphalt maintenance for 356,000. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have approval of expenditures of $356,618.20.
Second, spray rig. Requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation, $39,551.21.
A motion to approve.
I'll-
Do I have a second?
Can I just raise a question?
Yes.
John, for all three of the vehicles that are being requested, are they fully depreciated now, and so we're just replacing old equipment?
Yeah.
Or are we trying to buy new equipment because we're gonna need it?
So they're fully depreciated. We are coming forward a little earlier like we did last year, so they would be here ready for the beginning of the season.
Next season?
Correct, man.
Yeah, fine, okay.
And John, will you do any, like you did in the past, like raffle these things, not raffle them?
So no, it's an excellent question, actually. So Justin and I just spoke the other day. Normally, in some situations, we do trade-ins. We're gonna auction these, and that's the word you're looking for. Auction off somewhere down the road, but he still needs this equipment now. But we're gonna be looking at auction versus trade-ins, and the team believes that we probably can do a little better with the auction. Yeah.
So we do have approval for expenditure. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, next.
Plex Mower, again, golf course, requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation of $55,207.97 for John Deere.
A motion to approve.
So moved.
The second.
Second.
Discussion. So approval of $55,207.97 for the mower.
Hey, John, just all the equipment is handled the same way as far as it'll all go to all.
In this situation, we're looking at auction, yes.
That's all.
Sometimes I may
More
have
money.
trade.
Awesome. Good job. Thank you.
Okay, CPI violations, we have none. Unfinished business, we have. As far as for new business, we have first reading of revision to resolution. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Got the utility card.
Okay.
Okay, utility costs, I think there's a couple in there. Requesting authorization to go forward with staff recommendation, $84,024.36 for John Deere.
So moved.
Second.
Second discussion. So approval to the, you have something, John?
No, I was just saying, and these are all items that were already that were in the budget earlier.
So they're gonna be in the 24-25 budget. We did the same thing last year, and that's when they would be coming due. We did it last year because in order to get it for the May or the beginning of the busy season for that, we need to order it now.
For the lead times and whatnot.
Exactly.
You got it.
But it will be in the 24-25 budget. It's already on the proposed budget.
Okay.
The expenditure is not gonna take place until 24-25.
Or for new business, first reading of revision to resolution C 02, the Agriculture Review Committee. Elaine?
Can we start with the MO1? The
Yeah.
first reading on
Okay,
that?
we can do that. We can start with that.
Yeah, because one
Good.
kind of ties into the other.
Okay.
The revisions that are being made to MO1 is to bring us in compliance with Maryland state law, the HOA Act. The document was sent to council and had been reviewed. And pretty much it outlines the responsibilities for homeowners, the board, operations, along with very clear timeline requirements for notifications, compliances, for homeowners to become compliant, and hearings. And those are the basic changes to.
It's pretty much to streamline this process moving forward. Council, is there anything you want to add to this at all?
I think that sums it up. It's to be compliant with new statutory provisions that provide a right to a hearing to members that are the subject of a violation case. That's first of all. And secondly, it is really to make the process a bit more straight and linear than it has been in the past. So we get from opening of a case to closure of a case, whether that's with or without judicial action and so forth, in a more direct and straight line path. So there is an overall sort of reworking of that process under this revised MO1, but the original impetus of looking at MO1, well, really there were two, to make it compliant with the statutory changes and then just to make the enforcement, CPI enforcement process just a bit more effective.
Great. That's Steve.
Thanks. Two points. I know this is just first reading.
Right.
But having read through the proposed changes and council's memo, there were two things that sort of popped out to me. One is, which is not, I don't believe, as I recall, it's covered, is whether or not the party requesting the hearing in front of the board has the right to bring somebody in, whether it be counsel or someone else, to assist them in the hearing. I would think that'd be a reasonable request, but it's just not addressed at all. The other issue, and I know it's in Bruce's memo, deals with whether or not the board deliberation should be open or closed. And I sort of understand what Bruce states in the memo. I'm also somewhat concerned that at least some of these complaints give rise because of animosity between neighbors or whether on the same block or something like that. And I'm a little concerned that we start treading into areas inadvertently, which would give rise to closing the meeting. In other words, you're dealing with somebody's reputation. And so I would at least think about making the suggestion that either party at the hearing, whether it be CPI or the property owner, have the right to at least ask the board to close the meeting. The board can then consider it. But those are the two little points that I think maybe should be addressed going to the second reading.
Just in response to the first, the statute is very clear that the person who requests the hearing has the right to present testimony,
Right.
evidence, documentary evidence, et cetera, could call witnesses.
Right.
I think it's fairly implicit that if that person wants to have an attorney assist them in that hearing, I don't see any reason why the board would say no to that. The statute is silent on that.
Right, I understand that.
But that certainly is something that could be considered in terms of the process of a hearing itself.
Please give them the option.
Right.
Yes.
As far as closing any aspect of the hearing, you have to be very careful in that regard, because of course there's the HOA Act, which
Right.
only allows this board to go into closed session.
Limited number.
Yeah, for certain enumerated specified reasons. For example, if something were to arise during the hearing that led to the board or some member of the board wanting legal advice during the hearing, you could, during the hearing, go into closed session for the purpose of obtaining that legal advice, but then you'd have to come back out of closed session to carry on the rest of the hearing. And I think it's, in my view, the deliberations of the board, absent obtaining legal advice, which could be in closed session, but otherwise, the deliberations of the board on a particular case, I believe have to be under the statute they have to be in an open session of the board.
Right, I understand that, and I don't mean to drag this out much further. My actual concern is not so much in seeking legal advice, but the issue of whether or not you impugn somebody's integrity, not related to the business involved. And that's because there, at least from what I've seen in a few of the emails that we as board members have received, you can at least sense there's a level of animus between the person complaining and the property that they're complaining about. And, you know, I would
Certainly.
that's sort of a different consideration. But I'd rather us have something, a fail safe, so we don't have to come back and do it again if someone traces to court, which they'd be entitled to do anyway.
So I agree with that concern, and I think the way that probably gets addressed is the board, and even with the assistance of counsel during the hearing, just controlling the scope of the hearing appropriately to prevent that from happening.
That might work. I still want to kick that around in the cranium a little bit.
I think,
Any comments? Kayleen?
yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I also think if you get to the point when you're having these hearings for court issues, while the original complaint may have generated from a neighbor, many of them want to kind of be behind the scenes on that. And I really doubt that many neighbors are going to come forward during a hearing process to want to kind of get it into a negative conversation with the person. At that point, it's in the hands of Ocean Pines, the board, CPI, and I think most folks, if not all, would just rather leave it that way. They don't like ratting out their neighbors to begin with, but sometimes they're just frustrated that they don't think they're putting up their property.
And can I add one point that under the statute, public comment during the hearing is not permitted.
You're right.
It's just the member that's the subject of the hearing can present evidence. The CPI department would present its side of the case, so to speak, and that would be it. There is no public comment from any other members during the hearing itself. So I just want to make that clear.
Right. Any other comments? Jeff?
Thanks, Rick. First, Bruce, I want to thank you for your, you clearly showed your homeowner association experience with revision of MO1. And more importantly for us, you outlined clear roles and responsibilities, which is awesome. But if I want to put on Frank's shoes for a moment, which I think is appropriate since I'm filling his last year. Our responsibility is really to create policy to protect our lifestyle and homeowner values. And clearly this policy is in support of that. It establishes these new roles and responsibilities so that we can address those individuals that clearly do not want to abide by our declaration of restrictions. A strong board is good for the association. And what I mean by that is the association has made it crystal clear that they want this addressed so that we have clean and aesthetically pleasing lots and homes. And this really gives us the ability to do that as a strong board. I want to thank the art committee too. I've sat in many of your meetings during my campaign, and clearly the roles and responsibilities have changed, but I just want to acknowledge your enthusiasm. I got a couple members sitting here in the audience, and your knowledge and enthusiasm for what you have done and contributed to is really good. I do have one big concern though. I think this is great. I have a concern that we don't have enough people to get this enforced. We need more inspectors.
That's something we could,
So
Yeah,
actually,
good.
in the budget, we are gonna put in for at least one. Yes, we are.
any further? Okay, great. So as far as the first three M01 and C02, we'll do a second reading in November for that.
Okay.
Right.
And then on to CO2 now.
Yep, yep.
That really is just updated to go to align with the changes that were made in MO1. So just a very simple change to that. But both of those documents need to be aligned.
Thank you, Elaine. Okay, next, John, as far as approval for additional part-time position, police department.
So it's not in the current budget, but I am coming forward requesting authorization to go forward and hire a part-time evidence and criminal assistance for the evidence locker, as well as evidence. This person will be responsible for handling, documenting, and storage of OPPD property and evidence, maintaining, supporting OPPD body camera program, data collection, and analysis. It is a civilian position. It will be a 0.6 FTE, 24 hours per week. The salary is 20, that's for the 24 hours. 60%, 0.6, 27,000 a year. Coming forward with that. Just to let you, overall, as you know, we are down from FTEs. So even though this is an increase in new position, I'm still under the FTEs for the year.
Chief? Anything to add?
Morning, Mr. President.
Thanks.
The one thing that's very crucial is many of these things that are being handled right now are being handled by members of my sworn staff. So we're just going with the trend that it's going to be able to bring in a civilian, it's going to be a specialist, and help free my sworn staff up for actually being out on patrol where they need to be and to help do some very important tasks in our office.
Okay. Anybody got questions for the chief? Great. Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
So just to remind the membership and the directors, this is per section 9.02, section B of the bylaws, being able to add a position to that. So for those in favor of adding, put a motion out there, adding this position for what the general manager has requested. Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? All in favor? Yeah.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion is approved. Now the appointments. As far as we can do these separately, we can do them all together. We have Doug Parks' appointment as chair of the Budget Finance. Dick Keeling is stepping down as chair. Tim Peck is chair for the Environmental and National Assets. And Patsy Workman, first term Racket Sports. All in favor to approve all of these appointments? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Aye. They all. Have a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
All in favor? All in favor? We are adjourned.
Take care, guys.